send an adult to go look for them, you don't send the kids to go look for them.
Kids are expendable.
No, yeah, they are, but the paperwork is a killer if you lose one.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Conservation meeting of November 1st, 2017. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. We're going to jump right into formal. Paul, if you please read us into formal.
All public hearings and meetings heard by the Raynham Conservation Commission on Wednesday, November 1st, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. in the Raynham Veterans Memorial Town Hall, Donald McKinnon Meeting Room, 558 South Main Street, Raynham, Mass. are relative to filings and joint hearings and/or meetings under Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Town of Raynham Wetland Protection Bylaw.
All right, first thing on our agenda is abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, New State Highway, Map 16, Parcel 55, Daniel Andrade, Raynham River Walk, LLC.
Wow.
Good evening for the record.
Oh, one second.
We're going to read you into the record.
Okay, very good.
In accordance with the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Town of Raynham Local Bylaw, the Raynham Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing Wednesday, November 1st, 2017 at 5:30 p.m. in the Raynham Veterans Memorial Town Hall at 558 South Main Street on an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by the Raynham River Walk LLC, P.O. Box 278, Raynham, Mass. 02767. The applicant requires review and approval of a delineated vegetated wetland line and associated resource areas. The property is owned by Raynham River Walk LLC, P.O. Box 278, Raynham, Mass. 02767, and is located on New State Highway, Raynham, Mass. Assessors Map 16, Parcel 55.
Sir, if you could state your name and firm for the record, please.
Yes, for the record, Steve Giosa with SciTech Engineering, offices located at 449 Ponscona Road in Dartmouth, representing the applicant this evening. The exhibit plan before you this evening is a request to have a wetland delineation reviewed for this particular property. The property is located on the south side of Route 44 and on the east side of Church Street. The property is bordered by the Taunton River on the east side. On the exhibit that I've put on the easel, you'll see the Taunton River highlighted in green, blue. And the resource areas as they've been delineated and surveyed on the property, shaded in green, just to help clarify the locations on the property. We've also indicated, because we are bordering the Taunton River, we had our survey crews go out with the wetland specialist, locate the top of bank for the river, surveyed that and superimposed that on the drawing as well. And we've indicated the limit of the 200-foot riverfront area on the plan that has been submitted to the commission for review. You'll see there's a number of different wetland areas on the property, starting with the areas bordering on the Taunton River, and then a number of other wetland pockets and vegetated areas throughout the site. Fairly extensive amount of wetlands, so a lot of flags have been set here. The delineation was completed by Christopher Capone. Christopher is a wetland consultant who has a bit of history with this property going back probably about 10 or 15 years. Chris is currently the conservation agent for the town of Westport, but has consulted on this project because of his historical knowledge. We brought him back to redelineate the wetlands and get a current delineation completed out here for the property. So this site has been looked at for, at least by our firm, with prior owners for about 15 years or so, maybe even more than that. There were some parcels spun off over time, specifically a couple of house lots on Church Street and a commercial lot on Route 44 that got added on to the Ford dealership property a couple of years ago, and they did a small expansion to the Ford dealership on Route 44. So A little bit of history on the perimeters of the site. And the current applicant is now initiating a review of the property, see what might be the appropriate next stage for developing this site. And obviously, we're starting with the wetland delineation. So with that, we're not sure if the commission or a zoo have had an opportunity to review the wetlands on the site, or where we stand in that regard. We know there's a lot of work that would be required to look at this wetland, so we're here to answer any questions that may have arisen so far and decide where we're going with this request.
Azu, have you had a chance to review that?
Okay, well, Steve, I will say it's quite an extensive delineation. I can only imagine it probably took him a good 3 days or so.
All of that.
Yeah. So the riverfront is very clear. You can, Taunton River Bank is very well defined in that area. The area that you see that is marked the series C30, C25 that comes around from, where you see the word New State Highway, the letter N kind of goes southeasterly. You'll see the C34 and that is really, that section of the wetlands is really created by the stream, road drain. So that's one of those areas that the state refers to as finger-like projection. So I really wouldn't call that a resource, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
And then,
So just so I'm aware, Azu, so C35 to CD34 and everything back down to, you say?
C24 and
C45?
Right, I would, yes, you have a connection across the street, but because a culvert can't serve as a connection.
Okay.
But it's clearly also a finger-like projection under the Wetlands Protection Act. So I wouldn't really, I would basically call it more of a drainage ditch than more like a swale than a BVW. Even though technically it is, but it doesn't meet that. Now, the section that I've got to go back and look at again, because I didn't have my auger, is where he has 827, right in the middle of the page towards,
That's what I was about to.
see where it says 827, 828, 829?
Yeah.
I don't see visually, vegetation-wise, the difference between B40 and 827. So I don't think there's a break there. But I've got to look at it more.
Okay.
And then the B24, I think should be connected to B33. And then the only area that I haven't looked at, see where it says BAP, the section that needs to be looked at more is A114 to A1 series, A115 through A150, that section there. That's the only area that hasn't really been looked at. But definitely the finger-like projection is really not functioning as a resource.
Okay.
But other than that, I think for the most part, you did a decent job.
Good.
Definitely a lot of flags.
Yeah, with this much flag.
And a lot of
obviously.
text.
Right.
When we start looking at, when we start looking at flags in the hundreds, you know. Do any commissioners have any questions?
Where is,
Azu, what about C6 through C9 in that area?
No, believe it or not, there's
It
a
is.
break there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a break there.
where would the proposed access be to this?
I think, again, you've got a good-sized block of upland here, and if this is being eliminated as a resource area, this seems to be the logical place, because it would allow us to, if, again, there's a solid connection here, as Azu is referring to, it would make sense to loop through here, because it'd be the minimal impact on any resource area, if the looping through there is a logical completion of the development plan, so.
I mean, that area, Steve, where there's finger-like projection, we're still, you can pipe it, but I don't wanna, I'm not advocating that we're cutting off the ability of the water from the culvert.
Right.
Getting down there.
No, of
But I'm
course.
just thinking that you can pipe it instead of making it a resource.
Okay, so it would not fall under a protected resource, but however, we obviously have to maintain the drainage flows through the
Exactly,
area. Correct.
exactly.
Okay, I understand.
All right, that was gonna be my point.
Where's the water gonna go?
So there would have to be some culverting of that
Right.
channel through that area, even though it may not fall under a Wetlands Protection Act protected area. It does, obviously, we can't cut off drainage
Right.
flows through the area.
Is there any other areas in this that are subject to flooding from the river or?
In terms of the actual floodplain of the river, the floodplain of the river is confined to the area adjacent to the river, so we have not done full topography of the site yet, so once we do that, there may be some other areas that would fall into that category, but that would be more of a topographic.
Yeah, I was
But,
wondering.
I mean, to
why
add on
you
to
had
that,
So you haven't done that yet?
yeah, to add on to that, if we don't have the topography,
We can't tell.
we can't really say that, okay, this is not gonna flood and,
Yeah, we're not asking for a determination
Right.
on the floodplain. All we're asking for is the vegetated wetlands
Yeah.
and obviously the riverfront bank area, but the actual flood zone is as mapped by FEMA.
Right.
We're not looking to dispute that, and that would be an elevation-based determination when we develop that level of data for the project.
I would hope with a projected project somewhere down the line, that the floodplain would definitely be something you would look into.
That's
if
the
you were
very
spending
next
this kind
step
of
for
money.
us, depending on how you folks fall on the wetland delineation, absolutely.
and my other question is, some of these, B70s and, B1s up in the top corner on his other property,
Yes, up here.
do they extend out onto the other area? Are they meeting up to make to other wetlands on the other area?
We have plans that were provided to us from the applicant that showed a delineation that previously had been approved on that upper area. So we've seen how it feeds to the next parcel over. There is that break there, but then it does eventually, I think, connect back through. So there is an interconnection on an adjacent property, but we're not looking for reapproval of that line at this point.
No, what I'm getting at is, nah, never mind, all right.
Yeah, you don't want to really strain to that abutting property.
But if there's, I'm sorry, if there's a break, if there's no break between A27 and B40, as you might indicate,
Yeah,
how would you have access to that upland region? You wouldn't.
well, they have, no, it wouldn't, they would have to propose a crossing.
Right, okay.
Because that is in the.
Which would include replication.
Right.
Okay.
And they have plenty of land for that.
Yeah, well, they certainly do, yeah.
But I just want to remind the commissioners that we're not looking at any future projects, because that's not what's on the table right now. We're just looking at the
Yeah,
line.
no, yeah.
I looked ahead, sorry.
Well, I guess it's,
Well, outside of going out there,
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
work
so
in
I gotta
progress
finish
because you haven't
this section
finished.
here, yeah.
there's not
So
much we
we
can
obviously
do.
will be looking for a continuation this evening.
Yeah, the next meeting.
And I'll defer to Azu in terms of what his schedule will allow for him to get back out there.
Yeah, no, next meeting will be fine, we have a meeting on the 15th.
15th, yeah.
Yeah, so I can go out this weekend here and wrap it up.
Okay.
Do any other commissioners have any other further questions before I open it up to the audience? Seeing none, is there anybody here in the audience for this project? Ma'am, if you could please come up to the mic.
Oh, well, I can lose it.
If you could just please state your name and who you're with for the record.
Good evening, my name is Priscilla Chapman, and I'm a board member for the Taunton River Watershed Alliance. And so that's what caught our attention. We're obviously interested in following anything that is close to the Taunton River. I guess I discussed a couple of things with Steve when we were out in the hall, but just wanted to clarify a couple of
Turn the mic.
things.
We'll turn the mic down.
Well, I could just point out the areas and then I could go back to them. Let me see. This area right here, and then I just wanted to clarify this thing. Okay. So the first one, my question was whether the wetland continues off the property and goes down and connects to the Taunton River.
Right, that may well be, but they're not looking for us to look at anything beyond the property line.
Well, I guess my question was whether it really is a bordering wetland. You do consider it a bordering.
Right,
wetland.
well, that's what it will be unless proven otherwise.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the second one, the finger-like projection that you already talked about, was it your observation that it does not connect to a wetland on the other side?
No, like I said, a culvert can provide connection. That's why they're calling that but it doesn't really have the right definition of a BVW. In other words, it's a BVW because it's street drain, it's feeding it. That's all water from the...
So it's just stormwater from the street, it's not coming from a wetland?
Right,
Yeah,
stormwater
okay.
from the street.
All right. Those are my
If
questions.
I'm not mistaken, the other side of the street here, I think the elevation is actually higher.
Right.
So it's definitely coming off the street.
It's a street drain, okay.
I think you're right, good.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else in the audience? All right, seeing no more. So are you asking?
Basically just repeat it.
Yeah. So do we?
So you can just request it.
Continue.
So we're looking for a continuance, and do you think the 15th is enough time?
15 Mike, and yeah.
So that's acceptable to the applicant to respectfully request a continuance to the 15th for further consideration in the field, and then return here to discuss any further modifications that may be needed.
I'll entertain that motion if one commissioner would like to make it.
Motion to continue abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, New State Highway Map 16, Parcel 55, Daniel Andrade, Raynham River Wall, LLC, continue to November 15th.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We are continued.
Thank you.
Let's see here.
All right, next we have a notice of intent, Lot 2, Hill Street, map 15, parcel 110, Louis Pacheco. Is that 110?
Yeah.
Your sheets and an app that. And the green cards. Thank you. Just gonna sign. Right in the middle.
Kevin?
Nice big print.
Yeah.
That's my glasses. Okay? In accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the Town of Raynham Local Bylaw, the Raynham Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, November 1st, 2017, at 5:30 PM in the Donald Buchanan Meeting Room in the Raynham Veterans Memorial Town Hall, 558 South Main Street, Raynham, Mass., on a notice of intent filed by Louis Pacheco, 143 Warren Street, Raynham, Mass. 02767. The applicant requests approval for the construction of a single-family house with associated landscaping, grading, and utilities within 100 feet to the edge of the wetland. under the Wetlands Protection Act and Town of Raynham Wetland Bylaw. The property is owned by Louis and Lisa Pacheco and located at 1259 Hill Street, Raynham, Mass., and map 15, parcel 110.
Sir, please state your name and firm for the record.
My name's Frank Gallagher, Gallagher Engineering in Foxborough, and the owner and applicant is here with me, Lou Pacheco. So this is a lot that was created just recently by Form A on Hill Street. It's originally, the address was 1259 Hill Street, and that's the location of Champion Kennel. But a new lot was created, and you can see that we're proposing a single-family house on that new lot. So I think you should know the locus, but if you look at the plan, you can see Judson Street runs east and west, and that's the northern boundary of the property. Hill Street runs north-south, and that's the western boundary. And then Route 44 is the southern boundary, east-west.
So if any of the commissioners that aren't familiar with this, Gas 44 is right here on this bottom corner.
Yes,
The mobile station is right here.
Yeah.
And the Champion Kennel's right here.
Yeah.
We used to
That
take our
one little
dog there.
strip, Hill Street continues on to the south on that map. It's that one little section that connects 44 to Judson.
So the property slopes pretty steeply from Hill Street toward the east, and you can see there's a wetland on the eastern boundary of the property. It's highlighted, it's colored in green on the plan here. And the property, it's open field. It's really pretty much like a lawn. So none of the area that we're proposing to work in is treed. It's all already lawn. It's been maintained as that for many years. And then the wetland line was done by a company called Thundercase Environmental. They're out of Dedham, and they did the delineation, and they did that in July of this year. And the report from them I enclosed within the notice of intent. They do kind of a nice report on the property. There isn't any floodplain out there. There isn't any natural heritage protected wildlife out there. So I'm just going to come around to just kind of point out the work. So what we're proposing is
Open mic night.
a house here with a garage on the left side as you look at it from the street. Driveway. There's a sewer, the ability to connect to town sewer in Judson Street, so we're proposing a connection there. And then the water main would run down and connect at Route 44. And the house that's proposed is a one-story ranch-style house. But what it has is a walkout basement in the rear, so you can see that the grading goes down as you go from front to back in the house. The garage, of course, has to remain level, so there's a retaining wall proposed to the rear of the house in that area of the garage, so we kind of maintain a lesser slope there where the retaining wall is. So there's a patio in the rear, and again, basement walkout level. And then there's erosion control proposed that pretty much starts at the 100-foot buffer zone, which is this red line on my plan. And it goes along and it follows the 25-foot buffer to the wetland in the rear of the house, and then comes back out and ends again at the 100-foot buffer. So we're not proposing any work within the 25. We're holding all clearing, grading, everything outside of the 25-foot buffer. And we've shown the standard detail for hay bales that the commission has, which I guess is a double row of hay bales.
Especially on a slope like that, yeah.
And it is a pretty steep slope.
Yep.
So that's, that's it. It's single-family home, buffer zone work, only maintaining, no disturb to that 25-foot buffer.
I just have one question while you're standing there. The retaining wall of the garage, does that just run out and stop, or does it kind of taper down?
It tapers down and basically buries into the ground
At about
this point. And that's...
At about the 54?
Yeah, that actually terminates outside the 50-foot buffer.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to see where the grade is. It just,
Okay, yeah.
So you're just going to start stepping it down towards...
That's right.
Yeah.
So on the end closest to the house, you can see a stairway, and the grade in that area would be 62 on the high side of the wall, and then 56 approximately on the low side. So there you have about a 4-foot drop down.
Azu, have you had a chance to
Yeah.
review?
Yeah, there was a couple of points, Frank, and that relates to the existing water line that runs from Route 24 to house number 1259. Well, what's your proposal for that line?
Well, that's gonna remain, and that's gonna have to stay in place and active during constructions.
No, but on the, I guess that's really not our concern, so to speak, but.
An easement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna, have some kind of an easement right through the front of that house?
I guess we haven't talked about that, but it's, it's all essentially gonna be in the same ownership. I think if there came a time down the line where it went to different owners, I think it would be definitely necessary to place an easement.
And there's no water on Hill Street, that section?
No,
Across the street.
Oh, it's across the street? Would it be easier to tap on that, or?
Well, they did the street, so you can't do it for 5 years.
Oh, they just did it? Oh,
Yeah, they just did it.
come on.
And then you have the sewer.
Save your money.
Is that sewer on pressure?
no,
Well, there's a pump station right around the corner.
That's gravity?
yes.
Gravity, the sewer's down to 8 feet there.
How you gonna deal with those, you putting all these angle points on gravity line?
Yeah, they're 22-degree bends probably would do it to tie them in. When you come out of the house, it breaks at 90, so I think probably there'd be a clean out at that point. The others are, we could put clean outs there too, but those are, pretty,
No, that's,
Not
the only
sharp
reason I asked about the water to the other house is that if in fact you have to move it from here, then that work needs to be identified. Unless it's totally outside the buffer zone.
It is. The water's
Oh,
totally
okay.
outside the buffer.
oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's
Yeah.
really, if you got a fairly decent drop between the, where they're working on the wetlands. So the wetlands is very well defined on this one, very well defined.
Yeah, knowing that we had those couple of angles too, I made sure that I had at least a 2% grade on that sewer.
Looks pretty straightforward.
Oh, I see, it's, you're gonna wire the water down the bottom corner,
So the
the way it's written here?
water line crosses in front, and then it goes into the house in this corner here.
Well, no, that's that would be a proposed service that's coming out.
Oh, so they're gonna be two separate services?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right.
Water from one side, sewer on the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, because, I mean, you look at the, where your line is for the existing water line,
Yeah, right in front of the paved driveway,
Yeah.
proposed driveway,
That's
it's
here.
pretty much right over the sewer. So if the sewer's that deep and the water's there, so you're gonna do some kind of a sleeving.
This goes to this house.
Yeah, I guess, yeah,
Encased in
it would
concrete.
be.
because what do you need, 4-foot separation?
No,
Well,
18 inches vertical, 10 feet horizontal.
But it does appear to be outside of our
Yeah, but
jurisdiction.
that's not in our area.
Right. But it doesn't mean you couldn't bring something to the attention. That's why I prefaced it, but said that
Yeah.
it's really not ever part of, but
It is.
but it's on the plan.
And
Right.
So when it's building permit time,
That's up to
they'll
them.
weigh in on those
Mhm.
things, and if that's what they, if sewer and water ask for those, we could certainly accommodate them.
Mhm.
No, I'm just trying to head off a problem,
Mhm.
like with the easement and stuff.
Mhm.
Do you have any other further comments,
Nope,
concerns?
nope.
Do any of the commissioners have any comments or concerns?
I'm good.
Okay. Frank, did you get a DEP file number?
I did.
Okay, so we can't- you can't really- you can't close the
And I
hearing.
thought maybe today, and it hasn't come yet, so.
Okay.
So we have to continue.
Right.
So we have the DEP file number. All right.
Motion to continue?
Well,
Good day.
we'll have to ask the applicant. Are you okay with continuing?
Yeah.
Well, no, he has no choice.
Well, no choice.
Well, he has a choice for us to close the hearing.
No, we can't.
Oh, we don't have the
Just-
DEP file
We
number.
don't
No, no, DEP file number.
No, we would, I guess just assuming we'll get that number, which
Next
we
week, yeah.
could get any day, when we would continue to the next meeting, would there be an order of conditions that night, or would it go?
Well, we can draft it up, because the only reason you're continuing it now
Just
is
paperwork.
because you don't have the file number, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ideal situation for us, is if there was,
Okay.
a closing and an order of conditions
Issuance.
that night. so.
We can do that.
Yeah, because I don't, you don't foresee any other issues other than that?
No, we can
DEP file
draft
number?
it subject to
Okay.
receiving the file
Yeah.
number.
And none of the other commissioners have any comments or concerns? So, okay, so it should be pretty cut and dry at the next meeting.
Move it
We
right
can
along.
close it and we can
Yeah.
issue
Okay,
for the next meeting.
thank you very much.
So we need a motion to continue.
Motion to continue?
Second?
All right, any further discussion on the motion to continue? Notice of intent, Lot 2, Hill Street, map 15, parcel 110, Lake Chico. Nobody else wants to say it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'll take us to,
Want me to do that for you?
I was just gonna say, you're getting better at that.
Evidently not.
that'll take us to informal. We have a certificate of compliance, DEP file 269-0877-57, 57 Pamela Way, map 11, lot 190A-2.
So, they abandoned the in-ground swimming pool that they proposed. They built a above-ground swimming pool, which is further away from the wetlands. If that was the only thing they were gonna do, they really wouldn't have needed approval. Now, down in the back, on the side of the existing shed in the back there, they extended their little gravel access. But I don't see any issue with that, so.
Oops, sorry.
So I definitely have no issue with issuing the certificate. If you notice, they put an in-ground above-ground swimming pool close to the house.
Yep.
I just have one question,
Yes, sir.
and it may be semantics. On the paperwork here, it says approved pool.
That is just showing you where the pool was approved to go.
Okay.
Okay, they're giving you a contrast of what you approved and what they did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
My question would be, where it's written on there, could they come back later and just stick a pool in there?
No, because the work is done.
Okay.
So if they go to do more work, they have to come back.
Yeah, because we're
Yeah,
gonna
'cause
close
this
this
is
out.
certificate
Right.
of
We're closing
compliance.
this out, so they'd have to
They
file
can't do
another notice of
anything.
intent if they
Right.
wanted to
So
do more
this
work.
is here, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just, you know what I mean?
That is just contrast, because when in the order of conditions, it says identifying the differences between what they did, if there's any difference. And that's what the plan
So
tried
it'll be
to.
spelled out in the,
Right,
Okay.
right. And then the certificate of compliance says there's no other work authorized.
So this as-built is sufficient?
Yeah.
For you to- okay. Any of the commissioners have any other questions for us?
Nope.
All right, then, I'll entertain a motion to issue.
Motion to issue certificate of compliance to EP file number 2690877, 57 Pamela Way, map 11, lot 190A-2.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion on this one? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And Joe's been prepared, she just stepped out, so.
It's already set up to go.
Sorry about that, gentlemen.
John, who came in?
Yeah, okay, you guys all got promoted.
How did the COC go?
Good, so I'm set. It's
All set?
Yeah.
If it is all set, Mr. Chairman, I do have it already, if you want to sign it.
We're
It's already done.
Thank you, good job. So you don't need me.
I didn't go that far. I said, she already prepared it.
You're not getting off that easy.
Gail, do we have any other informal business?
I do not have any, sir. I don't know if Mrs. Reynolds does.
Mr. Reynolds, do you have any other informal business?
Well, just that, and I wasn't alone, we did a site visit today.
Let's talk about that on the site visits.
Okay.
I just didn't know if there was any, I didn't know if you knew something I didn't know. Okay. All right, so that'll take us to general business. Our minutes of October 18 have not been finalized yet, so I will look for a motion to table.
Motion
the-
table.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on tabling the minutes of October 18 to the next meeting? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Do we have any bills?
No bills.
No bills. Any correspondence?
Correspondence.
Ooh, I like it. All right. Site visits, Mr. Reynolds.
Move right along.
Now you're
Well,
holding
since the
us up.
chairman was there, maybe he should step off. No, the four of us went out to review the proposed project for the South Coast Rail Project, Phase 1, which emanates from Middleborough into Taunton. Evidently, there's about 3,000 feet of track that's actually in Raynham that consists of at least 4 culverts that needed to be reviewed. And they asked us to visit that particular piece of railway prior to them issuing submitting an NOI so that they could begin work, and they're expecting to submit that NOI in, I believe, the December meeting. So we walked it, it's about 3,000 feet, we walked the 3,000 feet over railroad track and gravel and everything else.
Whatever else was in there, yeah.
Almost to
And
get my
actually,
trains.
did look at the 4 culverts in question, and didn't see any major issues with what they were proposing. They did talk about the silt fence, hay bales, and new compact compost filter tubes as opposed to swaddles,
Yeah.
because of they're heavier and bigger to contain some
That's
of
what they've
the
been,
erosion.
that's what they've been using lately,
At the end, they can just
on
cut
the
them
road.
and spread them.
We did have one question concerning a possible resource area that was a fairly large lake or pond that was near the cranberry bogs on wetland. I I guess, flag RMS W34. And there were some questions of whether they were inside the 100-foot buffer or whether it was outside. They are going to look at some aerial photographs and research some more to come back with us when they submit the NOI to designate whether that particular resource is within our jurisdiction or not, or whether it's outside. They're looking at that. And there was some discussion of whether there is going to be any fencing along that corridor as well, as it in some places comes pretty close to some residential areas. So we wanted to make sure that if they were going to put a fencing up, maybe they should consider that at this point. The contractor we talked to didn't know whether that was in the proposal, but was going to research it and find out and get back to us with the NOI. And that was pretty much anybody else that was there. Have any comments?
No, I think you captured that all very nicely.
And I think they are, so we were able to give them our feedback, so it's kind of like a pre-construction meeting.
Right.
Which kind of worked out well, so
Yep.
hopefully they can get all their ducks in a row. I think they'll be filing around the 17th of November to be on the first meeting in December's agenda. And we can go from there. But it looks, it appeared pretty cut and dry. It almost, it would almost classify as maintenance
Right.
of those
The
replacing those
culverts.
culverts.
Yeah.
But they're doing the filing to
Right.
make sure they got
And
everything.
they just want to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
Well, there were definitely two culverts that needed to be
Yeah.
fixed, and there were two others that just need to be
Need to be
cleaned.
cleaned up,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
All right, no one has anything further on the site visits? There's no site visits, good, all right, I'll entertain that last motion, Mr. Dooley.
We adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned at 6:13.
Vote.